Sage Capital, Pokemon biological researcher Oren, designation the Professor. This is Expedition Kaleidoscope Debrief number 0359. Nearly a month since departure, the expedition's vessel finally reached the approximate location of the anomaly. Our scanners and deep water sonar were picking up absolutely nothing through the torrential downpour. The chief engineer suggested that our telecommunication infrastructure might be interfering with whatever signal the anomaly might be transmitting. They suggested that we shut down everything including power and go dark temporarily. After some convincing, the expedition captain gave the go-ahead. The entire crew of 36 people would spend the next 6 hours in total darkness, wandering the ship with only the flexing of steel and our Pokémon for company. As dawn broke and the storm subsided, we watched in awe as a barrier seemed to lift and reveal the anomaly. I don't know what we expected to find out here, but I can tell you now no one expected the anomaly to be an entire island landmass. The rest of the Sage operatives got to work setting up a beachhead. I joined this expedition for one reason: to be the first to discover, observe, and catalog any new and exotic species of Pokémon hiding away in the furthest corners of the world. I gathered my survey equipment and set off to explore the immediate surroundings. The environment was tropical and humid, what you would expect from a jungle beach. I began to spot common Pokémon known to inhabit places like this: Wingull taking to the sky, Irrakuda zipping around the shoreline searching for prey. I even saw a collection of Kabuto digging in the sand near the water. Rare. I made a note of some strange flora, unknown to any of our records. I'll pass this along to our botanists. Maybe they could identify it for me later. No sooner had I started my work, it was interrupted by a loud commotion back at the beachhead. As I approached, I spotted a young grunt coiled over in the sand just by the water. He exclaimed that he was pulling his raft to the shore and didn't see what he had stepped on. Before he could react, he was bitten. 2 puncture wounds opened his boot, a grisly sight underneath. I couldn't help but crack a smile. The grunt would be fine, but I could feel this was the work of a new species of aquatic Pokémon. I quickly tossed him a first aid kit from my bag and waded into the shallows, keeping my eyes peeled. A shadow quickly darted between my legs. I instinctively dove in after it. The shorebed was littered with the remains of various fish Pokémon. Whatever this species was, it was feeding. There was no sign of any recent struggles, though. We were dealing with a scavenger. Resurfacing, I rummaged around in my pack for shredded Magikarp and rotten berries. I tend to be prepared. I tied the ingredients up in a tiny canvas bag to act as bait, and the trap was set. It wasn't long till I felt my first bite. I pulled tight, but despite the absurdly small size of the Pokémon, it matched my every move with equal strength. With one massive final pull, I fell backwards into the water. My heart sank. The line had broken. I thought I lost my opportunity at discovering a new Pokémon, but from above I could hear the shrill cry. My head snapped up and I locked eyes with my quarry, moments before its face collided with my own. Tidbit, the bottom feeder Pokémon, boasts a smooth hydrodynamic shelled body that allows it to swim at accelerated speeds through coastal tropical waters. This Pokémon is elusive and spends most of its days trawling the shoreline for any leftover remains, choosing to scavenge its food rather than hunt. Though when food is scarce, it is forced to resort to more violent means, hiding itself in the sand, using its vibrant tail to lure in smaller prey. Its jaws are incredibly strong, able to tear easily through the toughest hide and able to crush the densest bones. Tidbit is never found without the remains of some poor creature clutched in its jaws, clearing the shoreline of any decaying debris. Training a Tidbit can be dangerous. Getting too close could result in some unintended injuries, but you will find within it a fierce ally when it's bonded to you. Our journey is only just starting, and already my mind is racked with so many questions. The anomaly, this island, is very clearly real, so then why after all this time is it decided to show itself to us now? There are theories that in a time before written history, the regions we know today were once part of a much larger, singular landmass. Could this place at the epicenter of the world be the heart of that long-lost continent? As my mind strayed, I hadn't noticed that I myself had been straying off the designated path. I could see the ocean, but the Sage base of operations was nowhere in sight. I used this as an opportunity to search for more Pokémon. I could see a bush bristling at the edge of the jungle and made my way to it slowly. As I peered inside, I was surprised to find nothing. Was I imagining things? I heard it again just behind me. I crept to the bush and prepared to toss myself into it and scare whatever was lying in wait. As I crashed into the bush, I again found nothing. And then I felt something tug at my pant leg. A bit startled, I leapt to my feet, scanning the underbrush. There was a Pokémon playing tricks with me. Another tug. I quickly turned my head and looked down. Below me was a diminutive grass-type Pokémon with its big blue eyes staring up at me. It let out what it must have thought was its mightiest roar. My heart instantly melted. This Pokémon was trying to intimidate me. I thought maybe I was encroaching on its territory, so I feigned fear and allowed it to chase me. But after a while, I realized it wasn't chasing me, it was following me. Maybe if I was clever, I could lure it back to the base for further research. Shrubbletuff, the brave face Pokémon, are quite big and strong, ferocious even. Or rather, that's how this Pokémon species would prefer you think of it as. In reality, it is quite small, and its large attitude is not utilized to scare others away from its territory as I initially thought. In fact, it's quite nomadic, tending to wander off and get lost if not supervised. Its behavior is really just a front to help it cope with its intense fear of everything. It seems to only have one eye open at all times. This doesn't appear to be because of any injury, but brain scans indicate that Shrubbletuff is only halfway conscious. Strange. This Pokémon is unexpectedly clever, using various aromas to confuse and weaken opponents, and it will use its sturdy claws to fell large trees, and all in an attempt to make it look as if a larger, scarier Pokémon roams the vicinity. This Pokémon may be hard to bond with due to its innate fear of humans, but it has an unforeseen potential that can be nurtured by a reassuring trainer. Sage operatives have voted Shrubbletuff to be, quote, the cutest ever in all infinity. Whatever that means. While I was away, the crew looked to have built a sizable base. I found the captain of the expedition and relayed my thoughts on the strange appearance of the island. The quiet serenity was cut short, as a loud explosion could be heard at the other end of the beach. While everyone else was scrambling, preparing for a possible fight, I quickly grabbed my scanner and notebook and dashed in the direction of the explosion, determined to be the first one there. I reached the inlet just in time to see smoke and sand settling, revealing a trembling bellsprout beside a scorched patch of beach grass, undoubtedly the blast's epicenter. From behind a rock, I observed a remarkable Pokémon standing before the bellsprout, radiating heat that shimmered through the air. It was small, no bigger than a toddler, with a stocky, defiant frame, and unmistakable fury in its eyes. This creature shouted at the bellsprout, gesturing toward the remains of a small sandcastle. By the pleading expression on the bellsprout's face, I suspected the sandcastle's collapse had been accidental, a mishap from a moment of play. But this fierce Pokémon's anger burned hotter than reason. Puffed up, and I glimpsed a flicker of fire ignite deep within its belly. It was preparing another assault, and that's when the rest of my team arrived. Distracted, the Bellsprout made its escape. The maddened Pokémon marched straight up to the largest of our sage grunts and jabbed one tiny finger into his side, pointing angrily at the ruined sandcastle, barking wildly as if looking for appeasement. The grunt looked at me with a quizzical look. All I could do was laugh and assign him to sandcastle duty. Barbabiq, the angry toddler Pokémon, is a fascinating case study in the volatility of Pokémon emotions. This Pokémon's power is directly correlated to how infuriated it is at any given moment. Barbabiq is quick to anger, taking offense to the most trivial of slights, Another behavioral quirk of this Pokemon is to seek out strong allies, both human and Pokemon, that it trusts and establish a sort of tribe, in which it then asserts itself the leader of, naturally. It will then lead this tribe into battles against anyone and everything that it deems worthy of destruction. Barbabiq is a sight to behold in battle. The ears on the side of its head act more like thrusters, expulsing quick blasts of fire, allowing it to quickly move across the battlefield or narrowly dodge incoming attacks. While the longer this Pokemon remains in battle, the stronger it becomes, trainers must be wary that an enraged Barbabiq is quite difficult to calm down again. It is possible to push a Barbabiq to the brink, replacing every semblance of the Pokemon you once knew with an endless tempest of fire. Tidbit, Shriveltuff, and Barbabiq are quite the trio. After extensive study, it's clear that the potential of these three Pokemon far exceed any we have encountered on the island thus far. Should worse come to worse and we lose the outside regions to the Blight, I think these three would make perfect starting partners to any trainer with the willpower to contend with each of their individual hurdles. With little sunlight left in the day, I thought it prudent to go check on the strange flora that I had mentioned earlier. To my surprise, as I approached, I noticed that the botanists had already arrived. They seemed to be debating amongst themselves of the efficacy of extracting the specimen to study back in the lab on the ship. One of the botanists produced a spade out from a pocket in her lab coat, ready to dig the plant up. At that moment, I heard a sound coming from beneath the earth, low, droning. I shouted to the botanists to halt, and they all looked at me, puzzled, confused as to what I might have heard. I knelt down by the plant and placed my ear close to the ground. The sound was the unmistakable grumble of a snoring Pokemon. The botanists all took a step back as I began to gently dig away at the ground beneath the plant. The grumbling became growling. As if I had just fallen into a trap, the ground erupted, tossing dirt and sand in the air. The botanists ran, but I had to stay and see what beauty awaited me. As the dust settled, the Pokemon's form became clear to me. One I wholly recognized, but totally different from any I encountered before. Unlike its cousins from around the globe, this anomalous Oddish lacks any and all aspects that make every other Oddish pleasant to be around. For one, this Oddish is a pure poison type, and while the floor on the top of its head has an alluring aroma, once this Oddish opens its mouth to bark what I can only assume are obscenities in its tongue, a truly foul odor permeates the vicinity. While observing this specimen in the lab on multiple occasions, this Oddish has lobbed vile acidic loogies on the floor near my boots, eating away and corroding into the steel. This punkish Pokemon does not respect me. I'm so curious as to what this little fella is going to evolve into. Nothing wonderful and full of joy, I'm sure. As the sun goes down on our first day on the anomaly, we decided to celebrate the start of our grand expedition. Tidbit helps out with catching dinner, Shriveltuff gathering beechwood, and Barbabiq igniting a large bonfire. All three are quickly integrating themselves into the sage ranks. Oddish is there, of course, as well. We couldn't leave it out of the celebration, though it's the only one required to be behind glass. As the last moment of sunlight drops behind the ocean, we all start to reflect on the events of the day. We're all here to be a part of something. But serendipity was not done with us yet. As if called by the light of celebration or just allured by the gathering of so many people, dozens of tiny angular Pokemon descended upon the festivities. Each of the strange enigmatic creatures drifted gently to one of each of the sage members. Each wore an endearing and smiling face. One silently drifted into my hand, and I could feel some sort of haptic feedback when I touched its surface, its face looking up at me with quiet admiration. We decided as a team to name this Pokemon Folduppy, the favored fortune Pokemon. There is much we do not know about this enigmatic and graceful Pokemon. It seems to, for some reason, be drawn to humans and Pokemon alike. It's friendly, always wearing a kind face, while clearly being biological in nature, it doesn't respond to almost anything, save for when presented with a question. It will rapidly fold in on itself like paper, as if calculating some sort of response, It then presents its ever-pleasant face with an acknowledging glow, as if to signal its response. We have not witnessed this Pokemon in battle scenario, but I have observed that Foldupi has an invisible kinetic membrane covering its entire body. This could be some sort of defensive adaptation. I have so many questions about this Pokemon, but only time will tell. As I prepare to end this debrief, I ponder everything that has happened thus far. Questions racing through my mind and a small confession. Director, I disagree wholeheartedly with keeping the rest of Sage in the dark about the truth of the expedition. They should know that this place, this anomalous island, could possibly be the only hope humanity has for survival. But orders are orders, and I will comply. I will lose no sleep over it so long as I get what I want out of all this. The discovery of new Pokemon and grand truths. One thing I will not be able to shake tonight, however, though, is this. Out of all the species of Pokemon in the immediate area, we did not find anything like Sandygast or Palisand. So how did Barbabiq know how to build a sandcastle? Hey guys, just wanted to jump in here at the end and say thanks for watching. Project's a long time coming, and I've been brewing it for a while. I'm gonna try to get videos out every 2 weeks or so. I got a new workflow and editing workflow, so hopefully I can stick to a schedule. Oh yeah, if you guys like the music, the link to the artist will be down in the description below. He's a producer friend of mine. He's really talented. His channel is just full. He's got tons of music on there and it's all incredible, so go check it out, give him some love, tell him I sent you. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so I know that you guys want to see more stuff like this, and I'll catch you later. Peace.